Join Samantha and Hans at the next Macro to Micro Options Power Hour, held each Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Registration is free. Scan this QR code or click on the link in the description.
It was going into effect on May 15th. And I wrote about this actually last night for clients to remind them that, hey, this is why the market was so excited on April 9th when Trump came out and said, we're going to delay these tariffs on Apple and Nvidia, basically. But the other tariffs are going to go forward, yada, yada. So the point was, then he came out yesterday and said, no, actually at midnight at 12:01 a.m. Nope, by the way, these are going to go forward because they were already in play for May 15th. He's kind of like taking credit for it. But the interesting thing is also, as I wrote up, let me just show this real quick. It just makes me crazy. So this is something else where this whole noise, I'm going to call it noise because it's very dangerous as a signal. This is something I wrote for clients and I'm basically just grabbing a part of this. Okay. The tariffs that are hitting for May 15th were basically removed on April 9th. That was the Trump tweet intervention. I would buy the market if I were you kind of thing. Okay. Well, all of this is about Nvidia doing end runs, against by way of Singapore and China. Otherwise, their sales would be flat. Again, client George is all over this. Now, enter Malaysia. I have a colleague on Twitter. We're called the Twitter randos, if anyone knows. They are Nvidia going backdoor, and look at the astonishing sales that are going by way of Malaysia. And is it a surprise today that Malaysia and China head honchos are, arm in arm going, we're gonna be trading buddies? No, it's not a surprise because Trump is also forcing countries to choose allegiances, alliances, trading buddies, and this is not a surprise. Any of this is not a surprise. So anyway, the point is, those who were, of course, looking for any excuse to sell, we've got a reason, a headline risk, which could, by the way, just turn around next week. You never know. That's the problem, right? We're playing in this wide swath of volatility on individual issues against big tech concentration risk, which is what keeps the market up. We're not going to get saved by small caps. We're not going to be saved by bonds. They're absolutely flat on the year, and the market is down big for the year. So we're really looking for any place to hold out. And right now, other than gold, which is extended, money is just kind of, slowly being pulled out of markets, period. And that's the problem. There really isn't a lot of benefit until we get some more clarity.
Well, this is it. And so you continue to have this west going east kind of thing. And where have I got a little chart here, which is no here. So you've got these massive, look at this. This is amazing. When you look at the inflows, foreign inflows into the US market. I mean, what an absolute push. I mean, whenever you see something like this, you should be careful, right? Every time we see parabolic moves, I remember volatility in 2018. We saw retail do this too at the end of 2025. Massive pushes in. We were showing on our show, optimism. Optimism had gone parabolic. Literally, you mentioned that it was just, one survey, but it was a survey that showed just absolute parabolic exuberance about stocks. And I guess that's a sign when you see something like that people have overdone it. But look, the money's just leaving. It is just flying out of U.S. assets. Look at this fund allocation, global equities funds, of course, into Europe and China and out of USA. So we need to see some of that stop as well. So it feels like every time we get a little bounce, as we did recently, it feels like the sellers kind of take a pause and then they go, okay, let's get back to work and start continuing the pivot.
Well, this is also part of the game plan, right? So this is, anyway, part of the theme that I have is that the falling dollar is what the administration wants, or I should say, not an overvalued dollar, and falling demand for dollars helps this dollar obviously lower, and it's supposed to help U.S. exporters eventually. But in the meantime, we have a disruption, which is obviously trade wars are going to hit businesses and consumers, and so much so that BlackRock is out saying we're already in a recession. To answer your question, the Q&A, by the way, is today part of the VIX expiration? I don't think so. Usually in a VIX expiration, we expect, kind of some stabilization in the market. I think it really was the NVIDIA headline pushing tech and semis. And then Powell came out and was not dovish. And that really is sentiment tell that the market doesn't have a backstop. There are really only two reasons the market would rally very aggressively. One is Powell capitulation, I call it. That's my tagline. And I was just kidding, which is a quote that I applied to Trump with this trade trade war / tariffs. And in lieu of those two things happening, we need liquidity. And liquidity right now is not coming in unless we get a lot of tax receipts into the government in the form of Fed liquidity. The dollar has fallen. That's a collateral trade that is losing its oomph, right? And the same thing with US Treasuries, or because bonds are down, that's also used as collateral that weakens liquidity. So we don't have liquidity coming into the market. So if we don't have liquidity, we don't have a headline of macro around Trump or Powell, the market's going to continue to flounder looking for a direction. Long story short.
Yeah, I think so. I think we could revisit, maybe that 4,900, 4,950. I'm not sure if I would get as bearish as you, sort of looking beyond that. But I mean, valuation wise, if we get down to 250, 260.
Join Samantha and Hans at the next Macro to Micro Options Power Hour, held each Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Registration is free. Scan this QR code or click on the link in the description. Watch the full Options Macro to Micro Power Hour episode by clicking on the video here and subscribe to LaDucTrading YouTube channel for more content.